Hi, I'm Mike McTaggart with Intelligence Catalyst. Happy to come to you today with a fellow Duke alum, Dr. Ken Russell.
Hi, folks. I'm Dr. Ken Russell. I'm here today with Mike McTaggart, and we are with Intelligence Catalyst with Executive Voices.
One of the things I love about the flow analogy that we use at Intelligence Catalyst is we can characterize those disruptions and those forces within an organization as things that interrupt, constrict, or misdirect flow.
Yeah.
Thus, as you say, a series of disruptions, a series of constrictions will eventually choke the flow down to a trickle.
Yeah.
And so you're right, it has that long-term effect of slowly killing the organization. At first, killing the ability to innovate, to maneuver, then the culture and the energy, the velocity starts to slow down.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you're no longer providing value anymore. Flow is getting caught up and unable to reach your end customer.
So what are some things we can do to get people out of that mode or that modality?
Well, I think, as we've talked about before, one of the first things you have to understand is that, investment into a process that's not applied at the bottlenecks is often a waste of money. So the first step is really identifying those bottlenecks, understanding, all right, where are these disruptions happening? What are the characteristics of a what the heck moment of, hey, how did this happen? What force is acting on the flow here? And let's address that directly. Not all around it, not before or after it, but understanding in the context of a single organization and a single value stream, what is the nature of this disruption, this bottleneck? And if we can invest into opening up that bottleneck, well, there will be more,
right? But
we've opened up flow at that point, and then we're able to move upstream or downstream to the next bottleneck, ultimately trying to make sure that the flow of value to the customer is as fast as possible and is directed as accurately and precisely as possible.
I totally agree, and I think this all happens in a matter of a few hours, right? One meeting and we're done, right? And that's the thing too, is that this takes a while. This is not the kind of thing that you can just magically happen in an organization. If it's been broken for a while, it's going to take a while to fix. But if you take these little pieces and find these instructional moments, right? I go back to that whole listen model that I shared earlier. You learn about the organization. And that could take, at minimum, several months, really, to just kind of pay attention to what's going on, where the culture is. Is there a cultural debt to pay?
Right.
There's a new thing, too.
Yeah.
We talk about technical debt all the time. But what's our cultural debt as an organization? What do we have to deal with? What must we not sweep under the rug any longer? What do we have to do? I'll convey a quick story for you. There was a gentleman that I worked with. He was one of those guys that had been a professor for a long, long time. His body of work, his corpus of work didn't really change. What he had to do was just kind of go from semester to semester to semester. But he had this position at the university where he was the head of the academic council. And I thought, okay, he's a brilliant man, great position, but he also would say that he was a technophobe. And that ruined it, because here I was trying to transform the organization, and he in this position was saying he was a technophobe. He himself was eschewing technology, pushing it aside.
The phobia,
not for me.
Is fear, out of fear.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what happened. So I thought for weeks really on what can I do about this, and then I had my opportunity. And then the opportunity was when we had an academic council meeting. It was really great because it was the first time that we'd actually used a Zoom kind of environment it was a hybrid, right? So we had some folks that were hybrid and remote and some folks that were in person. Well, he's one of those kind of guys that casts a large shadow, right? So no matter what he said went, right?
Right.
So, but he had the computer set up and he was all ready to go. The microphone went out, right? And he about freaked. He wanted to throw everything away. This is not going to work. This is terrible. I told you I didn't like this technology thing. So I had my assistant, while he was kind of going off and having a rant, swap the laptops. So that was being fixed simultaneously. But what happened was just really amazing. He was telling the folks locally that we were getting ready to shut this thing down. But the folks that were online, were saying, "Oh no, we can hear you now," and they were chatting in the chat box. "We can hear you. This is great. Oh, this is wonderful. I'm glad you're doing this. Let's do this. Let's keep going. Let's not reschedule." And he saw that, and I could just see the transformation. And then he never again said that he was a technophobe. And I think that's the magic part,
That's
right?
right.
Is that, but it takes listening and learning to make that sort of stuff happen, in order for you to make those changes and to kind of, take that bottleneck that you're talking about, or that lack of flow, and turn that trickle into a gusher.
That's right.